Hello there. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brad Walsh, host of the Empowerography Podcast here in Toronto. My guest today is country music musician Nicole Rayy, based out of Ontario, Canada. Hey, Nicole, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. It's awesome to have you on. How's your day going so far?
So far, so good. Although we were just saying it's, same old day every day when you're stuck at home.
How has this, you being a musician, how has this affected this whole COVID thing? And I mean, the world is going through it, but you specifically, how has this affected? Because I know you just released a new album. So how has this affected all of that for you?
Yeah, so it's really forced me and a lot of other artists to sort of take to doing a lot of videos live on Facebook and Instagram to sort of reach our fans because, as you said, I just put out a new album, which is great that, like, timing wise, there's something for people to listen to right now, but just unfortunate that I can't get out there and play live for people. So, we're just forced to learn a little more technology at this point and work the angles online.
Have the audiences been pretty receptive online from what you've been doing?
Yeah, it's actually been pretty cool because, I mean, of course, doing it over the internet, you actually get to reach some of your fans that don't normally get to come out to your shows. I mean,
Right.
Having fans, that live in other parts of the world, it's cool that they're able to tune in to a concert and, in reality, they wouldn't be able to show up in real life.
Right. So how old were you when you fell in love with and started getting into music?
Oh my gosh. I can't remember not ever being in love with music. My mom always makes this joke that when I was a baby, like I used to try to make up these songs, I guess, before I was even really talking. I would just sort of hum these tunes or try to make up these songs. And so I feel like it's just something that's always been in me, like since I was a baby. And as I grew up, I was involved with a lot of music lessons and music in school. And I just... It's always been a passion of mine. I don't remember ever not wanting to do it.
Did you grow up in a musical home?
No. And you know what? No, like not at all.
Wow.
So my dad's one of those people that is just kind of a jack of all trades. Like he sort of dabbles in everything. And so he does like music and he's actually just recently started learning to play guitar and
Awesome.
And he'll try to write and stuff sometimes, but overall not a musical household at all. Like nobody in my family, not even in my extended family, nobody is a singer or a musician. I'm the only one.
Wow. So do you help your dad? Do you give him pointers when he's trying to write and stuff?
Yeah, I do. I try.
That's
actually
awesome.
on my first EP ever. He started writing a track and he sent it to me, and then I actually finished it, and then it ended up on the CD. So we do.
Oh, that is so cool.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very cool. How did you get into the music industry? Like, how did you turn your passion and your love for music into a career and get to where you are now?
So it really started for me back in 2011,
okay.
Which now seems like forever ago. But I was actually going to university at the time, and I was sort of not going. I was sort of not focused on my schoolwork and was sort of always finding excuses to write and sing and do that kind of stuff. And so at that point, I just decided that, if I was really going to go for it, that now was the time, and that, school would always be there if I wanted to go back to it later. And so I actually ended up dropping out of university after my first year and thought, okay, I'm just going to go for this. And I actually made like the corniest music video ever with the help of my dad. And we filmed it at my parents' house. And now looking back on it, it's so embarrassing, but it got me my start because somebody that my dad worked with in his office, they saw the video and they were friends with a guy who owned a studio in Toronto, Cherry Beach Studios, which is where I recorded my very first EP.
Okay.
And so they connected me with the owner there and so then I started going there, and he sort of mentored me. He connected me with a vocal coach and a songwriting coach, and then I just started writing and putting together my first EP, and that really was the start for me. They just kind of took me under their wing and guided me on how to make an album.
Awesome. What were you taking in university before you dropped out?
I was in a program called Arts and Contemporary Studies, which was basically just like a fancy way of saying I was doing an English degree that I would probably never use.
Needless to say, there's no looking back, and you don't have any regrets where that's concerned.
No, definitely not. I'm glad I went for it when I did, and, kind of had to just seize the moment. And it was like, if I'm going to do it, I just got to go for it.
Awesome. That's a great attitude to take. Who are some of your biggest influences when it comes to music?
So I've always grown up listening to pretty much everything. I mean, I say this in a lot of interviews that Shania Twain is like my hero. And that was like one of the first CDs I remember listening to on my Walkman growing up. And, but it, for me, it was always beyond country. I sort of grew up listening to all different genres and still to this day love all different genres of music. So, I mean, yeah, there was country queens like Shania that always inspired me. And then I loved Kelly Clarkson growing up, but then I also listened to a lot of bands too. Linkin Park, was my favorite growing up and still love their music to this day. And unfortunate that their lead singer is not with us anymore.
Yeah, that was a tragic loss.
Yes.
Okay, so a wide variety of musical influences.
Yeah, I love a little bit of everything.
So why the route of country music? Has country music always been part of who you are, or?
So I think for me, because I love all different genres of music, when I first started making music, to me it was really hard to sort of pick a genre or sort of define my music as a certain genre because, I love everything. And I was like, why can't I just be all the genres?
Yeah.
But of course you got to specify a little more. And
yes.
When I started songwriting more, I think that country music sort of found me in that sort of the direction that my songwriting was going, because country music, it's very storytelling based, right? Like the songs are all, a story about somebody's life or a certain situation. And that's sort of where my music lies. I mean, all of my songs are about my real life experiences. And so it sort of just fell into place in that genre. But I do like to pull elements from other genres too. Like there's a bit of pop and rock influence in the music that I make as well, but definitely that storytelling aspect comes from the country side of things.
Okay. So your latest album, you just released your album last Friday, right? Was it last Friday?
Was it last Friday or 2 Fridays ago? It was March 27th, and I feel like being at home, I never know what day it is anymore.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track, isn't it?
Right.
So were there any specific inspirations behind the songwriting for that album that you drew from?
So a lot of the tracks off the album and a lot of tracks that I've written in general for my past albums too, come from a lot of relationship experiences. Write a lot about, falling in love or falling out of love. And so that was a big theme, of course, for a lot of these songs. But also for this album, I really wanted to write things a little bit more from my perspective and what it feels to be a woman and how it feels to be a woman in these relationship situations. And so that was something that was important to me to include in this album. And then of course that's where the inspiration for the title track All Woman came from, is that I really wanted to write something that just said, this is how I feel about being a woman, and you don't have to box yourself in or be any certain thing to be a woman. You can just be whatever you want. And I really wanted to get that message out on the album.
So speaking of women and music, do you find, or have you found in your experiences in the music industry, that women are treated any differently? There's any bias towards women?
Unfortunately, I do find that it's very unequal for men and women.
Wow, it's still prevalent?
Yeah. And, and it sort of blows my mind because you look back to sort of the 90s in country, and there was tons of like women queens in country just on the rise and thriving and doing so well. And it didn't really seem, when I was growing up listening to this music, that, there would ever be this problem. It was like, oh, great, there's these talented men, there's these talented women, they're all heard all over the place. But now it seems almost like we've taken a backward stride, in that things are really unequal again, and there's not as much room for women on the radio, and there's not as much room for women on these festival lineups. And I don't really understand why. I mean, I heard at some point that it was sort of fan driven, like they said, oh, fans wanted to hear more males, so that's what we started playing on the radio. And but now I just feel that's not the case, and I wonder why it still sort of is that way, like why we can't make more room for women. Because I mean, I think there's a lot more talented women in my mind. There's so many great talented women in country, and I just don't think that they're unfortunately getting the recognition that they deserve.
That's horrible. What advice do you have for women starting out in the music industry in general, not necessarily country, but just in the music industry? Because I imagine that bias spans the music industry in general, right?
It definitely. And I think as women, the two things that I've sort of learned that are really important. One is that other women are your allies and your friends, because I think, at some point it was like, oh, there's only so much room for women, so now we all have to compete against each other and not like one another. And I just think that's, not the case at all. I've found that, women supporting each other and one woman's success is all of our success is really the way to live by. And I think that's helped me a lot in my career, is just like knowing I can have these other women to rely on and who have my back to support one another. So I think that's really important. And then the other thing is to just be yourself, because I think a lot of times it's easy to compare yourself as an artist to other artists, but especially as women to other women. Sometimes, we get caught up comparing to what we see online or on Instagram or whatever. And I just think really the ones that do make it out there are the ones that are very authentic to themselves.
Do you find that the support is prevalent there from women for women? Because I know in the business world, I've seen women I see it all the time, women tearing each other down and not supporting and stepping on each other's backs to get what they want and get where they want. And I think that's horrible. I would think that women would be supporting other women, because there's been so much negativity and holding women down in the business world, in a lot of aspects of life. And it's just, I think it's very sad when I see things like that. You would think that, as you just said, women would be celebrating other women's success. One woman's success is every woman's success. So do you find that the support is there in the music industry?
I do find it is now, especially because I think there was sort of that shift in mindset where it was a lot of, tearing down was going on. And then, sort of came to this realization that like, no, that's, not the way that we should be acting. And sort of that came from outside influence, that came from thinking that we had to be in competition with each other. And then, when we finally talked to each other, it was like, oh yeah, I love your music. I love you too. Like, let's support each other. There's no need for any of that negativity.
Well, that's awesome. That's good to hear. That's positive. Could you tell me about was there a defining moment when you just knew that, like a lightning bolt moment when you knew the musician in you, that's the route you wanted to go. That's what you wanted to be. And that was it. There was no stopping you.
Well, like I said, because it's sort of always been in me from a young age. I mean, it's always been a dream and something to go after. But I think that moment really came when I decided to drop out of school, to really go for it. Because at that point it was like, there's no going back. This is what I'm doing. I've just got to go for it. And at that point it was like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. And so that was sort of the moment where it was like, I'm actually going to do this for real.
Was there anything, or is there anything you wish you had known when you started that you know now?
Oh my gosh, so many things.
Can you give us a few?
Yeah, I feel like Well, it's such a learning curve in the music industry, and there's so many things that, I've learned over the years that have really helped me in my career. But I think the biggest thing is just how much of the business side is important to the career. Because, of course, when I was starting out, it was like, okay, great. I just want to be a singer. I love music. I just want to share that music, which, of course, as an artist is still true. But if you want to really make a career out of it, there's a lot of business choices and business aspects that really come into play. And I think I really had no idea about that when I first started out. Like, I had no knowledge of that side of things, and I did more, but it's been great to sort of learn that as I've gone in this career, because now I feel like that's such a strong attribute, that I feel like as an artist, you need to have that business brain too, because that is such a big part of it.
How much guidance did you have with that, the business side of things?
I've been lucky to have a lot of great mentors in my career, and a lot of great managers. And when I first started out, after I made that first EP at the studio in Toronto that I was telling you about, they actually connected me with a radio tracker, and her name's Anya Wilson. Okay. And I've worked with her for 7-8 years. And I still talk to her, and she was such a mentor to me, especially in the beginning. I knew nothing about the business side. And so, she would connect me with people and, guide me through different things and take me to events and show me around and sort of really held my hand in the beginning to sort of make those business choices and meet those other people who could help me advance my career.
That's got to be hard because, I would imagine being a musician, touring and doing that for a living, there are a lot of people who want to exploit and take advantage. So it's got to be tough to weed out who you can and can't trust and find those people and keep them close to you, right?
Absolutely. And, I have been lucky to have some really great people, but, I also have worked with, a couple people or a couple companies where it's like they sort of have big promises. And of course, as an artist, you're like, oh, great. You're all just wide-eyed and excited that somebody's going to come in and help you. And then, some of those people really do just take your money and don't really give you anything in return, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're trying to make a name for yourself and get your career started, right?
Right. Of course, a lot of independent artists, they're not made of money. And so you got to be careful where you're spending your dollars. But, there are a lot of companies out there that, are just kind of after your money. And so I'd say for a lot of artists starting out, it's, you got to be careful of that and sort of work slowly with people. Don't just put all your dollars first right away. Yeah.
What are some of the challenges you faced early on and in your career, and how did you overcome those?
I think like a lot of challenges in the beginning was just knowing what to do and knowing where to put those dollars. Because I feel like in the beginning, you're sort of getting a lot of conflicting advice almost, or, you have no experience yet. So you don't really know like what the right avenue is. Not that there necessarily is one path, because of course, being an artist, there's a lot of different ways that people sort of build their career to a successful place. But I think, because in the beginning, I felt like I had no knowledge, that I didn't really trust my own gut a lot. Like I would rely on what other people in the business were, saying was the right thing to do, because it was like, oh, these people, have this experience, and so I should be listening to them. But I think I wish I had, sort of listened to my gut instinct a little bit more in the beginning, because I think, that would have steered me right a couple times when I went wrong.
Well, learning curve and growing pains, right?
Exactly.
As long as you can look back on it and say you learned from it and not to do this again or that again.
Absolutely. It's been a learning experience throughout this whole career, and definitely as I go, I know what not to do a lot of the times now.
Right. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that has helped you become successful in the music industry?
I kind of feel like I want to say nothing, as weird as that sounds, but I feel like the secret is really just hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there's tons of talented people out there. There's a
Right.
lot of people that can sing and can write, and that's fantastic. And I don't pretend to be the best ever. There's a lot of talented people out there, as I said, but I think what really has, brought me along and gotten me to the success that I've had so far is because I want this more than anything else. And I work very, very hard to do everything that I have to do to get it. And I think, I've talked to a lot of people in the industry where, some artists come and go because people start this career thinking, oh, this is, I really want to do this. And I love music and I just want to share music. But once you get into the industry and realize how hard it is, a lot of people give up and they don't have the energy to keep after it. And I really think the secret that's kept me here all this time is just my drive and working hard.
Hard work is always good.
Right? It pays off.
It does, for sure, if you put it in. That's the thing, though. You have to put in the hard work to see the results, right?
Absolutely.
What would you say is your biggest high or your greatest win so far in your music career or life in general?
Ooh, I've had a lot of great wins and moments in my career. But one of the coolest for me is being able to go to the other side of the world to share my music. I've been fortunate enough to play at the World Music Festival in Shanghai, China.
Wow.
For 4 years in a row. I was able to do that. And it's just amazing feeling that, music that I've made can take me to the other side of the world. And I'm able to play that for other people who have no idea who I am.
That's awesome. I gotta imagine it must be one of the greatest feelings in the world to step on a stage and play for an audience and just hear the appreciation in the audience, hear them singing your songs back to you or applauding your music. That's got to be one of the most incredible feelings in the world.
It 100% is. I always say being on stage is like being home to me. Like, it's just the best feeling. It's so great to look out there and see that your music has affected the people in the audience in some way and that they're singing along and enjoying it. It's absolutely amazing.
Have you gotten to meet any of your music idols or heroes through your career? Has it afforded you that?
So I have been fortunate enough to, of course, meet a lot of country singers in the Canadian music industry, of course, because just, once you're in the industry, it's smaller than it seems.
Right.
And, a lot of people are at events, which is really cool. And I have been able to sort of attend some concerts and go see some people that I've always loved growing up as well because of this career and meeting people who have taken me to certain concerts or whatever. But I still am waiting to meet some heroes in real life. Like, I got to go to this taping of this interview of Shania Twain, and it was so cool because it was like she was right there and I could almost touch her. It was so crazy. But I would still love to meet her face to face one day and just tell her how amazing I think she is.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a big dream for sure as a musician,
right?
Country music musician. That's awesome. Excuse me. What did you give up to get where you are today? What did you have to sacrifice?
Ooh, well, I think something as a female artist, it's sort of a continual sacrifice, and not for all of us, but for a lot of us, I think as female musicians, it's a continual sacrifice that you're giving up sort of this other idea, this other lifestyle that you could have, which is, being settled down and being married and having kids. And of course, like a lot of musicians do, but a lot of them do once they've sort of established their career, right? And they can sort of take this break to take time for their family or to have kids or whatever. And I think as a female musician, that's sort of a struggle sometimes, because, you know, as we as we get older, we're thinking, oh, you know, like, is it going to be too late for me to have family and have kids? And so some days I feel like that's sort of a choice and a sacrifice. It's like, you know, right now my career is the most important thing. And so, you know, hopefully I'll have time for that other lifestyle at some point. But right now, you know, this is more important.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge sacrifice though. Huge.
It is. And, you know, I think it's another aspect of being a female singer that sort of complicates things a little bit more for women, is that, you know, we sort of feel like the clock's running out, and, you know, when will I have time to also have a family as well as a successful career? Right.
I think that's a struggle though. Yes, I think it's a little more difficult being in the music industry because you're touring and so on, but I think that that's a natural struggle, or a normal struggle for women, which is horrible to say. It's normal struggle, but I think that's a struggle among women in the business world, or entrepreneurs, or anything like that, for females, which is horrible that they have to struggle with that. Can't have their cake and eat it too, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you know, the choice of career versus family.
Yeah. What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What sound or noise do you absolutely love?
Well, other than music, the ocean.
The ocean. Okay.
I love the ocean. Like, anytime I go on vacation and I'm like taking a nap on the beach, I'm like, oh, I wish I could live near this sound at all times.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like it would be so nice to live near the ocean, and, you know, even for songwriting, just go out and sit on the beach and write a tune.
Speaking of songwriting, where do you find is the best place for you? Where do you feel most at ease and the creativity flows when you're songwriting?
Like a specific place, like somewhere. I'm not
or
really.
Is there one?
I don't really think there's one. I feel it's more of a mindset, really.
Okay.
You know, like, I mean, it's kind of different because sometimes inspiration just strikes and you're like, oh, I got to sit down right now and write this. But also sometimes it's just, you know, the sort of practice of like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write a song today. And then you sort of get in that mindset of like, this is what I'm going to work on. And I'm just going to pull out any inspiration I've been thinking about lately. So I don't know that I necessarily have like one comfortable spot.
What about, because I'm sure you've experienced it many times, writer's block. What do you do when you hit that wall? What do you do to try and get back into that creative zone, creative space?
Yeah, it can be tough. And I think the worst part is trying to force it ever. Trying to be like, you know, I really need to get this song done today. If, you know, you're not feeling it, then sometimes you're just not feeling it and you need to walk away. But also co-writing is just so great when you're feeling a little writer's block, because it's so great to be able to bounce ideas off other people, or, you know, maybe there's something you want to write about or something you want to say, but you're just so blocked up and you have no idea how to say it. Then you can explain your idea to another writer, and then maybe they have some ideas that kind of gets you rolling. So co-writing is always such a great way to sort of get your ideas flowing again.
Okay. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Ooh, I think invisibility.
Why?
I feel like it would be cool to just like, you know, be in a room sometimes when people don't know you're there and kind of get information.
Listen to what they're saying.
Yeah. Hopefully use that for good, though.
Yes, absolutely. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird would you say you are?
Oh, 10.
Right.
I don't know. I feel
not
like
even any thought there.
Yeah, I feel like as like an artist and like a singer, we're all weird. Like, I think people like in creative fields are all kind of like wacky in their own.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to say, I think all artists are inherently weird or different or bizarre. Yes,
totally.
Absolutely. I would have to agree with that. What profession other than the one you're currently in would you like to attempt in your life?
So I always say for me that there's really no backup plan of my life. But that being said, I do have some other passions, one being fitness and nutrition. So like I said, I dropped out of university, but then I actually went back to school online a couple years ago. And I got a certificate in fitness and nutrition. I've always loved just being active and working out. Thank you. And I just thought, this is something else that I care about. And if I ever wanted to do something else at some point, I'd like to be, certified to do so. And so, yeah, I just decided to go back to school and do that. And it was really fun.
Can you share a situation that's occurred in your life that you feel provides insight as to your character, who you are, who Nicole is?
I don't know that I have like one specific situation, but I will say that I think the way that I treat people and the way that I treat my friends specifically in my life shows a lot of my character, because I've always just been that type of person where I'm just willing to give all the time, even if I don't get in return. Like, I care so much about people, and I just want to make sure people are okay all the time. And so, it's been difficult for me because sometimes I feel like because I'm not, I don't expect that in return, but at the same time, what you do for people, you sort of expect other people have the same mindset.
Yes.
And so, in the past, it's like, if a friend has wronged me or whatever, it's like I can see past that because I still care about them. Whereas if the same thing happened in reverse, that's not always the case, or like I've lost a friend. And to me, that sort of shows the character of who I am, like I'm sort of willing to stand behind people even if they mess up, because, we're all human and we're not perfect. But I think if you've decided to care about someone, then you got to care about them even on their bad days.
I think that's an amazing quality to have, because not a lot of people in this world do have it. But I mean, I like to believe that most people in the world are inherently good. So
yes, me too.
You got to see the positive in things. You got to try and see the positive angle of it. Otherwise you head yourself into a horrible downward spiral. So
absolutely.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Probably that, if you don't believe in you, nobody else will. I always thought that was good advice, because it's just so true. I mean, I think everything starts with you, just like, you can't love until you love yourself. And, I just think you can't, accomplish the things you want to accomplish unless you believe that you can do them.
That's awesome. That's very true. I love it. So speaking of that, what does the word empowerment mean to you?
Oh my goodness. So many things. I feel like it's such a great word. Like, it just feels strong and so confident. And I think that's exactly what it's about. It's about finding that strength and confidence and sort of exuding that power, and just knowing that, you can do whatever you want to do. And exactly, like, you have your own back and you believe in yourself and you have this strength and power that you can make anything happen. And then being able to sort of give that, well, not necessarily give, but sort of help to give that strength and power to other people too. You can empower other people by supporting them and having their back and showing them that they do have that strength and that power also.
Well, I think if you yourself as a person exude self-love and confidence and so on, it turns into a magnet, and it draws people that are of like mind to you, right?
Definitely.
I mean, if you're not confident in yourself, it's going to come through, and people will see that automatically.
100%.
How do you define success?
Ooh, I think it's changed for me over time. I think because, I've sort of had certain goals in my life, and then once you achieve that, then, success becomes another thing and another goal. But I think success in general is just continually making goals for yourself and working hard and going after them and achieving them, and knowing that success is great, and that wanting more doesn't take away from that, and that just pushes you to be even better and go after the next thing.
Love it. What is one of your favorite quotes?
Ooh, well, I want to say again, it's also my favorite quote would be my favorite advice about that nobody will believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. But I was also going to say, or any quote from Friends, because I just live my life quoting Friends TV show.
All right, there we go. Okay, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
I think that I would just say everything's going to be okay. Don't worry so much. I feel like I worried so much when I was younger about things that were just not even in my control. And I just would want to tell myself, just don't worry. It's all going to be okay.
Okay. Well, that's good. I like that piece of advice. Well, I guess that's about it for our interview. I want to say thank you so much for being a guest, Nicole. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and I wish you all the luck with your new album. Continued success.
Thank you so much for having me and for all these great questions. So much fun.
I hope it didn't throw you off your game too much.
No, they were great.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of the Empowerography Podcast. My guest today was Nicole Rayy, country music musician from Canada. Thank you again so much for being a guest. And again, all the continued success and all the success for your new album. And I hope you're able to finally get out there and tour soon enough in support of your new album.
Yes, me too.
It would be good, right?
Yes.
All right. Thanks very much, Nicole. Hope you have a great day.